With this WrestleTalk news, a huge power shift behind the scenes in AEW, Shane McMahon's WWE status, my review of AEW Dynamite and more. Subscribe and enable notifications to always on for daily wrestling news videos. Please subscribe or my Master Pete will be angry with me.
Support WrestleTalk!
When AEW was first announced 6 years ago at the start of 2019, one major part of the appeal was that the wrestlers would now be in charge of creative. Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks were announced as executive vice presidents of the promotion, along with owner and president Tony Khan. Just several months after Dynamite debuted though, with the Dark Order invasion angle being the low point, Khan reportedly took a more hands-on approach to the booking, becoming the Batista of the corporate faction, breaking out as its biggest star behind the scenes. But what did that mean for the executive vice presidents? Cassidy Haynes of BodySlam.net has provided an in-depth look at their current roles in the company, noting that the booking process has changed drastically since 2019. Creative was essentially completely taken away from the EVPs, as basically everything now comes through down to Tony Khan. AEW talents are allowed and encouraged to pitch ideas, give suggestions, but creative is absolutely Tony Khan's prerogative now. The report goes on to say that at one point, Cody Rhodes was the only EVP to regularly attend office meetings, but that role, as well as his input with creative, have greatly diminished. Meanwhile, Matt Jackson's EVP role reportedly has him assisting his wife Dana with merchandise. There'll always be just a t-shirt company. A very successful t-shirt company with millions of dollars in revenue, with his brother Nick focused on handling BTE. Kenny Omega is very hands-on with AEW games, and has his role of helping to put together the women's matches, which does sound more like an agent-producer role instead of someone coming up with multi-year storylines. So Cody, Omega, and the Bucks are EVPs in name only in 2021. They no longer have final say in creative or talent hiring, any of them. TK pulled back on the reins and took that power away from all. There was also a rumor from earlier this year that Cody might have had heat with his fellow EVPs in AEW, as his storylines feel completely isolated from the elites and he hasn't been on BTE for ages. BodySlam.net has now shed further light on this, reporting Cody doesn't really have much of a relationship with any of the EVPs anymore. The others are still great friends, but Cody is very much on the outside looking in. What do you make of the AEW Power Grab backstage? Power Grab, title of your wrestling pay-per-view. Dynamite has been on an excellent run of quality for almost 2 years now, so something's working, but problems with an underserved women's division remain, and will likely go unsolved with that same one man's vision at the top. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because I'll be replying to people for the first 30 minutes after this video goes live from out of nowhere. Speaking of backstage power dynamics, here comes a segue. Here comes a segue. Segue. I need to be more sweaty. Shane McMahon hasn't been seen on WWE TV since WrestleMania 37, where he lost to Braun Strowman. Which way did he go? Through Raw Underground's exit door, allegedly, with Wrestling Inc. reporting Shane is no longer with WWE. Fightful Select have since refuted that, saying he is still under contract, but is rarely, if ever, at WWE offices anymore. But there is a draft tomorrow, and a Saudi Arabia show in a few weeks. God damn it. Now it's Thursday, you know what that means. My review of AEW Dynamite in about 5 minutes. I haven't even got a watch on. And you know what that means a little bit more than usual this week, because Dynamite took place in Rochester, New York, the hometown of the late, great, exalted one, Brody Lee. AEW paid tribute to the man throughout the show, opening on a graphic, giving the crowd Brody Lee signs, and weaving his legacy into several matches on the card. But the opening, as usual right now, was cheer manager Punk, continuing his eternal victory lap around the ring to join commentary for the night, and starting the Rochester crowd to chant CM Punk at every gap in other people's promos. The opening match saw Adam Cole, Bay versus Jungle Boy in a battle of hair, curly versus wet, a battle of the entrance music, Boom versus and And third most importantly, a battle of who's the better wrestler. They told a steadily building story of Cole's arrogance against JB's tenacious spirit, which exploded in an excellent final sequence of a jumping Hurricane Rana off the apron outside and near falls from a Panama Sunrise and snare trap, but Cole cheated to win, hitting a low blow behind Aubrey's back and a last shot to win. The Elite all came down with Kenny Omega yucking it up about having one of the best matches in AEW history against Bryan Danielson last week, but there will be no sequel because Bryan doesn't have a win-loss record. This brought out Bryan Danielson debuting his latest t-shirt design. Oh my god, it's such a cool Why can I buy this on AEW's shop? It's only got the American Dragon one. I want the iconic white tee I can't get from anywhere else. Danielson got a Kenny Nobles chant going, and his anti-Elite crew caused the heels to scatter. The mouth-watering match of Bryan versus Nick Jackson was announced later on for this Friday's Rampage. Andrade asked the Lucha Bros, "Donde está Pac?" and told them they should maybe defend their tag titles soon. Then we got Cody Rhodes and Lee Johnson beating Matt Sydal and Dante Martin. But as this is a Cody segment, it was the overbooked post-match angle that really mattered. Cody called out Malachi Black, but Arn Anderson called him stupid. Their lives have been in ruins since Black entered. Arn even fell off the ring post, and it's all because Cody wouldn't shoot a man in the face if he was being carjacked. Wait, what? Arn was saying that Cody shouldn't have checked on him last week and just focused on beating Black. He just used a pretty weird and violent analogy to illustrate that point. It certainly made me pay attention. Arn and Johnson then walked out on Cody. John Moxley, Eddie Kingston and Darby Allin beat Bear Country and Anthony Green in a fun house show style 6-man tag, complete with nostalgia Scorpion Death Drop pop in the post-match, and Ruby Riott and Britt Baker got a dueling video promo suggesting AEW is sticking with that feud rather than moving on to something new. Then came the first of the Brody Lee tribute matches, with the Dark Order and Orange Cassidy versus the Hardy Family Office. This was mostly to tell the continuing story of the Dark Order not being on the same page. Hangman Page! With Evil Uno walking out when Alex Reynolds accidentally collided with him, but -1 and Brody's widow Amanda Huber came out to throw the papers at them instead, prompting the Dark Order to work together seamlessly, running wild to win the match, and then all hugging in the ring. Leo Rush is back and he wants to manage your money. FTR said they're refocused now. Dan Lambert and the Men of the Year cut a promo on Chris Jericho being taken out. The crowd started a what chant at Scorpio Sky? No, Rochester! This is AEW! We do not do that chant here! But Ethan Page expertly shot them down, cutting a promo with 0 breaths in and the tightest tits in professional wrestling. Shida is looking for her 50th win against Serena Deeb next week. Anna Jay and Ty Conte beat Penelope Ford and the Bunny in another Brody Lee dedication, with -1 hugging his Dark Order buddies afterwards. I'm not crying, only snowflakes cry at wrestling. MJF then came down to the ring to explain the 4 pillars of AEW, the young wrestlers who will carry the company into the future. Sammy Guevara, who he's beat. Jungle Boy, who he's also beat. Darby Allin and MJF, that's him. And because of that, he wants a shot at the AEW World title. If not, he's got Bruce Pritchard on speed dial, threatening to jump ship to WWE. But if you thought that would be the most shocking thing MJF said in a promo, you haven't watched an MJF promo before. Darby came down for a face-off, so MJF called him a school shooting mime on a skateboard and explained Allin is straight edge because of him surviving his uncle crashing a car while drunk when he was a kid. But if you ask MJF, the wrong man died. I don't know why he's so mean to everyone. MJF's always lovely to me. Darby coolly said MJF can't break him mentally and pointed out he's won a title MJF hasn't. But then it was time for another AEW pillar to shine, because Sammy Guevara beat Miro to become the new TNT champion in the main event. This was a fantastic match. Miro's brute strength dominated most of the offense, but then Sammy smartly targeted Miro's most vulnerable body parts, his head and his dick. Miro's selling was fantastic here, subtly flexing his fingers to put over his history of neck injuries, which Sammy capitalized on with a GTH and a 630 sent on to Miro's nuts for the win. I wasn't ready for Miro to lose the title. He's arguably had the best championship reign in AEW history. But I can't begrudge them putting the title on Sammy, who's both excellent himself and homegrown, and it was in such a good match. Perhaps Miro can become even greater in defeat, going on a vengeful god rampage, or even moving up the card to the main event. What did you think of Dynamite? Let me know in the comments. 67% of you voted for Spanish God is greater than God's favorite champion in our poll on a poll match on the community tab. up. This was a very solid episode with some excellent promo work from MJF and Anderson, a great opener, and a newsworthy title change in the main event. This week's Dynamite is 4 out of 5.
WWE are considering a major NXT call-up. Seth Rollins says he was hurt by WWE. Lots of WWE draft details and information. More on WWE's plans to keep Adam Cole in the company and more.